So this tech tidbit is all about creating a classroom newsletter template using Google Slides. Why would you want to use Google Slides to make a newsletter? Well, I think there's a few good reasons. Canva's awesome, and Canva can make some really great newsletters, and it has lots of really cool features that you can tap into, but it's learning another tech product, tech app, and sometimes you just would rather use the ones you're a little more comfortable with. There's another product called S'more that also has some really cool tools that you can use with it and send it out pretty efficiently to large groups of people or even sets of parents, whatever it happened to be. But again, it's learning how to use another thing. And so I think a lot of us are used to using Google Slides and know a lot of the things that you can do with Google Slides, whether they be including images in there, adding text boxes to it. And just with picking up a few things, you can use some of the tools that are just right there in Google Slides and make a pretty effective looking classroom newsletter. So I'm going to just share this here for a second or two and just show you kind of an example of what it could look like when you kind of have it completely filled out. So I hope you guys are seeing what I'm seeing here on the screen. And if you're not, just let me know. But it's set up, and the way that it looks, is just all things that I added right from a blank Google Slides new presentation. And obviously I just kind of have it set up as if it was a fourth grade one, and the topics and different things that are in those banners are all editable however you want. And I'll definitely share a link out to this as a template if you want an example that you could use, or make a copy of and tweak and make it your own if you like kind of the format that it looks like. But what I'm going to do here is just start out as if I just opened a brand new presentation. And you get that familiar screen that looks like this, where you use to start to build your slideshows. But you don't have to use Google Slides just to make a slideshow presentation. So one of the things that I'm going to do here first is that's not the right size for what I would want a newsletter to be. So you can change here the size of this area that you're going to build on. And I can do that by going into the File menu and then drag down until I find Page Setup. And it's going to be set up to do that widescreen type presentation. But if I click the drop down and then choose Custom, I can now change this to what would be kind of the standard size if I wanted to print that newsletter on an 8.5 by 11. So I'm just going to change this to 8.5 by 11 inches. And you're going to see then that it changed the size of my workspace here. And I'm just going to zoom in so it's a little bit easier to see the different parts of it, but it's basically your standard size piece of typing paper that you're going to have. Now, I don't necessarily like to see these different, template boxes that are just dropped in there. So I'm going to go into layout, and I'm just going to choose to make it blank. And so now you can see then if I go to fit, it's just a blank piece of paper that I have to build on. So what would you maybe want to do with this blank piece of paper is start adding some features that you want to make it stand out a little bit. So I might choose, say, this shape icon here, or the tools, and maybe I want to build out maybe this rounded rectangle and put that up here somewhere near the top. And now I have this spot where maybe I can use to be the title of the newsletter, or, Mr. Mikla's class, or whatever you wanted to call it. But I don't have to leave it here with just this grayed out box that's here as well. I can also go into these different tools, like the paint fill button here. And I could choose to make it a color that I wanted to, just one that's already there. Or I can also choose to make it a custom color. And I can use the little eyedropper to pick a custom color from anywhere else on my screen. or I can hit this plus button here. And what hitting the plus button will do is if you know that your school uses different um, in their logos, the hex colors, and you happen to know what those hex numbered colors are, you can type that in here and it will go right to that color. So like, you know, if East Central has a certain color blue and it has that hex number, you can put that in there. Who would probably know that at your schools? Probably your tech coordinators would be able to know where to find it. Perhaps maybe some administrative assistants in your district offices might know where some of that stuff is too. Or you can just use this as a gradient and you can pick different colors based upon the spectrum that you see here. So if I wanted to go maybe a little bit more goldish colored, I can choose from here and it's going to fill it in like that. Then you can also, on top of these different shapes, you can also just click in them and it's going to turn that shape into a text box. So if I wanted to type Mr. Mikla's 4th grade class, you could see that I could put that right in there. Then you can also do all these sorts of things, like if I wanted to change the text color to be maybe, let's go with maybe a green. Nope, that one's hard to read for sure. What's going to stand out on yellow pretty good? Probably blue. That's not bad. I can change the text sizes, all that sort of thing, however you want to. Another thing that you can do, if you don't want it to look like your standard texts that are there, is you can also choose to insert word art. And here I can type Mr. Mikla's class again. And as I do that, it's going to drop in this as a word art. And just like you could with your other fonts and things, if you don't like the font of that, you can change it to a different one and adjust the sizes as you need to get it to fit. And again, same sort of thing. If you want it to fill to be a different color, I can choose to fill whatever color that was that I had. Another thing that you might want to do here as well is maybe you have a school logo that you want to be able to drop in. So if you were to go and grab your school logo from wherever you have it, and I just happen to have the Malacca one here, it might not match perfectly, but you could see that I can drop that logo in, and now that can be just a part of my newsletter here as well. When you start adding these different features, and if they start layering over the top of each other, it is pretty easy to change the layers. If you have one of them selected, and then I'm going to go up and I'm going to hit the arrange tool, and under order, say bring to front, and it will place it ahead of any of those other items that are on there. So you can use that to help keep track of where different things that are on there. Okay, other things here that you might want to do, you can start adding maybe some lines to help break up different sections of your newsletter. I'm just gonna, I didn't mean to do that. I'm just going to delete that. Just move this out of my way a little bit. There we go. Is maybe divide it up into different sections. So I can use the line tool and I can make that. If you hold the shift button down with the line tool, it will automatically make it straight. And so then with that, if I wanted to break that up into a little thicker line, I can just go up and choose the different line weight and pick a different size for that as well. Then maybe you want to include some different sections to your newsletters or some call outs. One that I used in my example before was this banner one here, that as I laid it out, again, it becomes one of those things that I could type something into. So if I wanted to update parents on, say, what happened in science this week, you know, I can add that in there. I can always change the text colors. I can also change the background here if I wanted to, and it would show up like that. If I want to add a text box, I can do that right underneath there and just start typing whatever text I have in. Ooh, that was bad. No one saw that, right? Into this spot, and now you know you can add all of that other stuff that you find that's in there. It's pretty simple to start adding then these different pieces here. Another neat thing that you could do with this is, say if you team teach with someone else and they also have things that they would want to add to your newsletter, you can definitely do that because these Google things are so shareable. Just share it directly with those other people, and then they would be able to work collaboratively on you or with you with that newsletter. Now, one thing that you're going to be able to do here is if you set this up the first time, right, and just kind of left some space holders for yourself to be able to add the content that you want, the next thing that you're going to want to be able to do here, I'm going to first give this a name, and I'm just going to call it template for now. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Google Drive. Okay. And from my Google Drive, I want to be able to make this a template. So I'm going to go choose new, and I'm going to choose Google Slides here again, but I'm going to choose from a template. And when I go to from a template, it gives me templates that I've already created, but I'm going to go and choose where it says submit template. And then what it will do is allow me to select a presentation that I want to become my standard newsletter template. And I find the one that I just created, choose open, and give it a title. We'll just call it Worth a Newsletter. And you have to give it a category. I don't know what giving it a category really means. It doesn't really matter what it is. And then choose to submit. And it is then going to appear as one of my templates. I just happen to put it in this letters category instead. So now if I wanted to create, if I had January's newsletter done, but I'm ready to work on February's newsletter, or I want to work on this week's and I had last week's done, I can just go back to this template and I can choose to open up a new one from this example. And you can see that it opens up my template here. And once again, I'm able to go on and continue to add to this newsletter with other things that you would like to do. So I guess that's kind of what I have for you here. I'm not, it's pretty basic, but I think the more that time that you invest into making the template the way that you want it to be, the easier it's just going to be to start dropping pieces in once you have stuff to add there. So questions or other ideas I didn't think of or comments?
I kind of missed the part where, and this is probably simple enough to figure out, but I did take detailed notes on everything else because I am not a creative person. But when you made the little boxes, what icon was it up top? Was it the one with next to the arrow there? Oh no, the little T with the square around it.
Yep. So if you hover over the top of the tool, it will tell you what it is. So if I hover over the T with the box, it tells me text box, and then I have insert image, and then there's the shape tool. So if I click the shapes, then I can choose from the drop down menus that come, and there's different ones in here, and it's just picking the one that you think looks like what you want it to be. Right.
Okay. Yeah, I've done text boxes before, but I never knew that the different shapes were there as an option.
Yeah,
so.
which is really kind of neat. And if you're making it kind of, that basic thing, it works really, really well for.
Yeah, definitely. I like the template idea. So you're not starting from scratch every time.
Oh gosh, I hate starting from scratch every time. And you can see from the example that I made, and I'll when I send out the recording, which you guys will get to, I'll make sure I send this template that I made along with it. And I just basically, this black part here is another rectangle shape that I made. I just made it go vertical instead. You know, I added in a picture that I had, and you know, I don't know what you include in your newsletters. If you break it up into the week in review, upcoming events, or you know, things to become involved in, or maybe you're sharing a moment from class. You know, those are all things that kind of are entirely up to however you use it.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Okay, thanks for joining. Look forward to seeing you guys sometime soon. Have
Thank
a great
you.
day.
Bye.
Yep. Bye.